Welcome to Decaf Thursday. Me and Ron together. Ron, you don't drink coffee. Usually, Mark and I do like a coffee toast. So, cheers to
I got
me.
some ginger ale I'm drinking, so there we go.
Cheers to
So
you. How you live without caffeine. Well, you do drink Cokes though. You do
I
have some
do,
caffeine.
I do. I don't need anything in the morning. I'm an afternoon person is when I need it, and I need some kind of soda or energy drink. It's the bubbles that reinvigorate me. I'm
Interesting.
obsessed with bubbles. I have like a soda stream. It's my favorite thing in the house. Make sodas all the time. Yeah.
I hate carbonated drinks. Like
Oh, I could
I
not live
live and
without.
die with like Coke Zero. Like I love how Coke Zero tastes. But as
Mhm.
far as like I don't really like champagne. I don't super love other carbonated
Chestnuts is
drinks.
mine. So for me.
Oh, okay. Well, you drink like whiskey all the time. I can't. If I drink that, I feel like it makes me sweat, makes my face red. I'm not good at drinking bourbon and whiskey. So I guess to each his own then. Speaking of things that we enjoy, let's talk about something we hate. Let's pivot.
Yeah,
And that is waste, fraud, and abuse of
that's right.
taxpayer money. And this week, it is all released to the public in the pork report.
Mhm.
This was one of my favorite pork reports we've ever done because so many of the cases were like actually so absurd.
Oh
It
yeah.
was huge. What was one of your favorite things that we talked about this year?
Man, so first I have to give props to our design team on it with the recipe format and just the sarcastic recipes in it. Just
Yes.
fantastic. I'm not gonna
So
lie.
good.
I'm not gonna lie. I really didn't know what chestnuts looked like, and you sing about it at Christmas all the time. And so when we made a recipe around that, I was like, oh, that's what a chestnut looks like.
Oh,
Oh, that,
how about
sing,
that?
chestnuts roasting on an open fire. I was like, I never knew what that was or what they
Never
looked
heard of it. Yeah.
like. Yeah. So, but in terms of the actual entries, the content of it, it wasn't one of the potentials for the pork of the year, but the water park in West Tennessee.
That's what I was
I
gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, we've talked about stadium subsidies and corporate welfare here a lot at Beacon. Is water parks like the next just hot topic that governments are going to start subsidizing? Obviously, several years ago we talked about Nashville and the Opryland Water Park, and now it's like West Tennessee's getting a taxpayer funded water park. Like, it's only a matter of time until we hear somebody talking about somewhere in East Tennessee government's funding a water park. I don't know what it is. Like, look, I love a water slide as much as anybody, but it's like you don't need millions of dollars from taxpayers to build a water park, right? I
Okay,
mean,
well,
I
here's
don't
here's the
understand.
thing. You know I'm a psycho about cleanliness. Ron and I shared an office for a long time. I kept my
Sure.
own, like the office had cleaners. I kept my own Mrs. Myers in my desk drawer for a little wipe down once a week.
Yep.
The thought of going to a water park is going to give me hives. Like it is the most stressful thought of just people in the I can't handle it. So the thought of this water park personally is nasty. The thought of it as a conservative taxpayer is infuriating. And
Yes.
so that was one that I just loved. And the only reason really I think it wasn't pork of the year was because the pork or one of the nominees for pork of the year was because there were so much egregious stuff in this year's report that
Yeah.
one pork of the year, Metro Nashville Public Schools no bid contract with Meharry Medical Ventures was an easy number one.
Yeah.
But the
Well, I
water
think,
park was just so bad.
yeah, it's so bad. And I think what a lot of people often like, I wish we didn't have to do this, right? I wish
Yes,
we didn't have to put this out. But, not to say that changes don't happen and things can't be done for the better, because sometimes, good changes do happen. But, you know, I don't foresee us being able to stop making this anytime soon. So you
no,
almost have to laugh about it,
I
right? To
know.
some extent. And that's why we have to take the approach we do, because otherwise it can just get straight down depressing,
It is
you know?
so depressing when you're looking through, and I say because you literally do this, I don't. When you're looking through state and city budgets and seeing all these articles about where the money is going, and especially, it was brought to our attention on Twitter. It blew up on Twitter, and people were saying that Nashville is one of the worst fiscally mismanaged cities in the United States,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense because everyone wants to come to Nashville and we have all this money rolling in and it's still an absolute disaster financially. We've got to someone's got to call this stuff out. Someone's got to make it big. And so that's one of the things that I think is unique about Beacon among a lot of other policy organizations is we will make it funny because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And
Exactly.
so that's where we're at with the pork report.
Yeah, I know there's like a lot of gifs out there of like people starting out laughing and then turning into crying because that's what it is really at the end of the day, right? When we
Yes.
do this stuff.
You start to read it, but I am enjoying the recipes. I've been getting kind of creative on Twitter and calling things unappetizing and yucky and things like that, saying they look good, they sound good.
Those almost dad joke puns, Taylor. I'm not gonna lie.
I know, Ron, I've been spending too much time with you and Justin, and my sense of humor is deteriorating. You got to go for the low hanging fruit sometimes. You just absolutely
Sometimes.
have to. So if you
That's
haven't
right.
seen the pork report yet, definitely check it out. It's one of the best. It's on our website. If you go to the website, you'll be hit with it right away on the top banner and the bottom banner. We make it super accessible because we want people to see it and we want people to know that, yes, even though some of these things might be changing soon, you've been paying for them all year. You've probably
Right.
been paying for them in the case of the Memphis Regional Mega Site for more than a year.
Oh
So
yeah.
there's a lot going on that you don't realize that that's where your tax money is going until you're told sometimes. And it is unsettling and it'll make you kind of make your ears perk up just a little bit with
Yep.
things like that. But on the bright side, Tennessee actually is really really got its crap together as far as business taxes and our tax burden. As a matter of
Right.
fact, Ron sent me this morning an article from the Tax Foundation, which is one of our kind of like allied organizations. They
Yep.
look at how states handle their taxes. They have really interesting infographics about things like alcohol tax and sales tax and all kinds of stuff. And they come out with rankings once a year. And Tennessee is ranked number 8 as the overall state for our business tax climate,
That's right.
which is incredible. Like,
Oh yeah.
and it also makes the case for, and I'll say this one time and then I'm going to move on. It also makes the case of saying, well, why are we giving out so many tax incentives when we have already such a favorable business tax climate? But now I'll shut up with that kind of stuff. But this was actually such an exciting thing to read, especially from me coming from Alabama, where it ain't pretty. Tennessee is such a great place for people to come and start a business. Up from number 18 last year, we came up 10 spots this year.
That's
How is
right.
that even possible?
Well, I think we've seen two things that changed the ranking so dramatically. One was the Hall income tax finally came off the books, right? So we've talked a lot
Yep.
about that here at Beacon, worked on that issue for many years. And so having that off the books certainly helped our rankings. And
Mhm.
then some other stuff around unemployment insurance,
Yes.
boosted our rankings around that as well. So, as crazy as it was talking about all the fiscal mismanagement, somehow it makes me think like, what's going on in other states? If all of these things are happening, we're still in the top 10 in terms of business tax friendliness.
No.
There are some areas though that it points out that we could grow and improve,
We're getting
right?
there,
So
baby.
that's what's really fascinating too, is we're already in the top 10 and we're basically like in the middle of the pack in terms of our corporate tax rate.
Mhm.
But if you look at the South, we're actually one of the higher. So amongst like all of our bordering states, we're tied with
Interesting.
Alabama for the highest. So that's
Ooh.
a big opportunity for reform in our property taxes as
Mhm.
well. So we're one of the few states, we've talked about this before, that doesn't have a cap on the growth of
Right.
property taxes. We're one of only 4 states. So those are simple areas or clear areas where we could improve that tax environment even more so. So it's cool to see how, hey, policies do make a difference and they
Yes.
do move these things and businesses when they make decisions. And we've got a lot going for us, but there's still so much to do. Like I know when I was in sports and stuff, coaches loved it when you were winning and there were still things to fix, right?
Yes,
They loved that so much, right? You talk to any
exactly.
coach in any sport, they love it when they know that you're winning, but there's still places to fix. And I feel like that's where Tennessee is right now, which is a cool thing.
Oh, I love that, Ron. I love a sports analogy. I love to talk sports, but I think you're totally right. And it's I can't say things are like easy fixes, but we can identify these problems and we can propose solutions to fix them. And that's when you're in a really good spot. Tennessee as a state is in a good financial situation. And when we're identifying the problems and have already identified solutions to some of these problems, that's a pretty good spot. And so I feel pretty good about continuing to invest in Tennessee, and I think that other businesses will too, because ultimately, when businesses move here or when businesses are going anywhere, it's all about the bottom line. And if you're not having to pay the government too much out of your pockets,
Yep.
then the bottom line is going to be affected by that. And I think that's so huge.
Yes.
One place that I will not be moving. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Oh, I like this segue.
New Zealand. Okay,
Yes.
guys, for months and months and months and months, we have talked about like insane COVID lockdown
Yeah.
regulations. And we talk about Nashville and we shade on the United States, but ain't nothing as bad as New Zealand. That
Unbelievable.
can you imagine? I would be depressed if I had had to live there for the last 2 years, like depressed from just sitting in my house.
Well, especially because New Zealand is like one of the most beautiful places on earth
I
too, right?
know.
I mean, all you have to do is watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and you're like, that's all the marketing that New Zealand needs to do
Yes.
to go there. I mean, it's incredible.
Yes, I would be so depressed. And I think that their leaders are probably catching on to the fact that the world is looking at them and scratching our heads like, what y'all doing down there? And so their prime minister was their prime minister, right?
Yes.
She made a kind of cheeky joke about starting to lift some of their regulations. And it all goes back to what we were saying with the pork report. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. And I think that's what she's doing. Ron, what did she say?
You can
you're
have
now legally allowed to increase how many Tinder
Tinder
liaisons you have.
liaisons is the word she used.
I'm
Tinder
scared.
liaisons of up it, and here's the thing, if you've had I believe it's the vaccine and a booster, you can have Tinder liaisons of up to 25 people.
I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't
Yeah.
like it. I don't like it. I don't want people to talk about it. That is bizarre. Now, I know what she's trying to do. I can see the marketing thing behind this. It has gone absolutely viral. People are having her on radio shows. People in the US are covering it. People in the UK are covering it. People are really talking about what she's saying. It's gone viral. It looks
Yep.
fun and like, hey, we're super fun. We're not totalitarian and locking you down over here. However, the concept is so bizarre. And it's
Right.
even more bizarre considering that the government would have kept you from liaising with people for a year anyway. Like, it's
Right.
bizarre.
Well, there's a couple of things that I thought about when I saw this was, the old joke about how like conservatives leave your wall alone, but get in your bedroom and vice versa for liberals. Like this is literally the government getting in your bedroom, like
It
the
is
absolute literally definition of it. And so I just don't like one, it's just mind-boggling to me that right, it has gone viral and everyone thinks it's just like, oh, this is kind of
ha ha
funny and
ha.
corny and weird and awkward, but it's like no one's paying attention to a prime minister, right? And I mean, look, New Zealand I'm sure is a fine place, but I mean, on the global stage, it's not like this massive player, right?
Oh,
And so when your prime minister is going viral on international news, it's probably not a good thing. I mean,
no.
but nobody seems to be talking about it that for they're just turning it into jokes. And I'm just like, how do people not realize like this is so weird that
It's
a
so
prime
weird.
minister is talking about this and that's what they're, that's how like how much power they have to supposedly like impact your
Lock
life.
down your own homes. Like
Yeah.
they're telling people they're having people lock down their own homes and they think
Yes.
it's funny.
Yeah.
Which
Well, I
I
mean,
I totally see what she's doing. She's making it cheeky and funny so it's not so people don't see it as weird. But those of
right,
us who are like freedom baby, freedom and liberty, we're like, okay, the fact that we are in December of 2021, almost
right.
2 years into a pandemic, and now you're just now taking off these lockdown regulations that would have kept people apart. Mm-mm. Nope, don't like it.
Well, it was just in the podcast that Stephanie and I did a couple of weeks ago where we talked about, she had just said, now you can, if you're visiting a friend, use their bathroom. So it's like, so I mean, this prime minister just has a fascination with government policies and personal activities and functions. I
Yes.
guess. Like I don't
How they
know.
pertain to your house. Like,
Yeah,
come
like
on.
I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm sure she probably would have more important things to be talking about. Like, I just don't see how that's in the scope. Anybody should think like, oh, now we're raising the cap to 25,
I, no, I mean,
Tinder liaisons. Like a government official should never be saying those words together,
like,
ever.
don't even. I made a cheeky joke on Instagram, I guess toward the end of last year, where I posted a bunch of photos of me and my friends hugging. And I said, making up for lost time when the government told us we couldn't hug. Like,
Yes.
everyone, if you're really thinking about what's been going on over the last 2 years, you don't find this funny. It's not entertaining. It's bizarre.
And in your situation, right? I mean, you're kind of like saying, yes, it was harder to visit, but you still like could, but like there
Still
you
could.
couldn't, you
They
can't.
literally couldn't. Like, I
Yeah,
was being sarcastic and kind of snarky with
right.
mine. These people literally couldn't hug.
Exactly.
That
It's
is
unbelievable.
weird.
Yes.
I can't even imagine. I mean, New Zealand would be a beautiful place to live, but I hate to know what their country's revenue is after locking down for so long, because I mean, what do you do after that?
Well, it just goes to show you like how different we are as Americans in how we value our freedom and liberty and everything. I mean, we've talked a lot about right to work here at Beacon. I think it's so ironic that, I'm pretty sure it was the UK when they've been doing all of their lockdowns, obviously when you told people you can't work, right? You you have
Yes.
they've been doing like stimulus checks like every month because basically so much of their economy couldn't work, and they called those right to work checks. Like just the how like the just what it means. It's so backwards in
Oh
some.
my gosh, I didn't know that, Ron.
Yes, yeah,
What?
I'm pretty sure because I do like Google like alerts, and half of
Yeah,
my stuff around like right to work is always the UK talking about your next right to work check is coming out and stuff. And it's mind-boggling. I mean,
I don't get
it's
it.
we've talked about, like you mentioned earlier, some of the crazy policies here, Nashville, United States generally, like it's one thing, but it's why Ron Swanson says, America's great, UK's okay, and France sucks. Like it's that, I mean,
Yes.
it shows that so clearly.
What else did he say? I watched the episode the other night where he was like, history began in 1776. Everything
Yes.
before that was a mistake. Like, it's just like, it's so funny, but I'm starting to like, the first time I watched, I was like, haha, Ron Swanson, he's a character. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, huh,
Yeah.
maybe he's on to something.
That's right.
The permission slip that says I do what I want.
I want.
Yes, it's like, okay, after this year living in Nashville, especially, I'm about to start. I'm about to start carrying around a piece of paper that says I do what I want. And if
I do what
anybody
I
wants
want.
to ask
That's my
me for
permit.
permission, I will show them that. That is so funny. Well, to all the New Zealanders that are listening, which is probably none, we feel really sorry for you guys, and we're really sad for you that you've been locked up for 2 years. But hopefully, maybe there's some hope on the horizon for you.
Wait,
Um,
maybe you'll be able to, like, I don't know, watch a movie in your house as
that would
a
be great.
fun
Invite
party or
friends over
something.
for a movie night, share
Yeah,
popcorn.
maybe. I guess it depends if Supreme Leader, Prime Minister, I think her name is Ardern or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. Whatever she says next week, we'll find out.
We'll find yeah, we'll find out what she lets you guys do next week. Before we go, it's almost Christmas time. I feel
Right?
like it's finally the socially acceptable time for me to talk about Christmas. I've been trying to do this for weeks and everybody has been throwing shade at me, but it's finally a socially acceptable time for me to talk about Christmas. And my mom the other day called and she said, I have a few gifts for you, but I don't have any like little gifts. She
Mm,
always gives us like little gifts. Like she'll give us books or coffee mugs or Alabama t-shirts or little things like that that are just fun.
yeah.
And she said, I don't have any little gifts for you. Will you send me a list? And so I just started like sending her just random things. And I was thinking about how much easier it probably was for our parents when we were kids and we would see a commercial and say, I want that. I want that Barbie airplane. I want whatever. And some of my favorite gifts, and I'm, forever thankful for my espresso machine and my laptop and all the things I've gotten as an adult. However, nothing will ever bring me the joy that my easy bake oven does.
Oh, nice.
What about you, Ron? What kind of gifts did you get that were your favorites?
Oh man. Okay. So I'll give two. One was I was in high school. We were up at my extended family in Wisconsin, and my mom surprised my dad and I with tickets to Lambeau Field to see the Bears versus Packers in Lambeau.
Oh,
It was like the last game of the regular season, so I think it was 2010. Oh
wow.
no, so I guess I would have been in college, and that was the year they won that game to get into the playoffs and then went on to win the Super Bowl. So that was really cool. But as a kid, like a young kid, like a toy,
Uh-huh.
I had this. I was probably like first grade around the time, and I got this Godzilla that was about like 2.5 feet tall that would move, right? It would like,
No.
slowly move. But here's the thing, its eyes would glow red. And if you put like corn syrup or something in it, it would smoke out of its mouth. And it terrified my little sister. It terrified her. So I mean, 'cause she was like 3 years younger than me. So I would like set it right outside her room and like fill it with corn syrup. And you just watch this like Godzilla walk into her house and like roar and like puff out smoke and stuff. And it
That
terrified
is
her.
so funny.
I was a great big brother,
Yeah,
so
see, that's what's hard is it for me, it was just me and my sister. And so anytime I got like my Barbie airplane or my easy bake oven or like, girly toys, we both
sure.
had these girly toys that we both played with. No one was there to
Yeah.
terrorize us. It would have been hard to have a brother at Christmas. I didn't even think about that.
Oh yeah. One of my favorites. I mean, it was cool. It was like 2.5 feet tall, and I mean, smoke came out. I mean,
That's pretty
hey, back
legit.
back in the 90s, man, that was high tech stuff.
That is
So
legit. That is so funny. Wow, I didn't even know that those toys existed. It shows you we lived in like a girly world. Now my parents always did. My mom taught me how to throw a spiral at like age 9. So we always were being given like Nerf footballs and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was Barbies and American Girl, and we
oh
got a
yeah.
puppy one year. There's been some good girly gifts under the Dawson Girls Christmas tree. And we have a boy in our family for the first time now that my sister's married. So mom actually called me and she was like, I have no idea what to get for
Well,
Ryan.
Ben Franklin was pretty wise when he said the only difference between men and boys is the price of their toys, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. I have I keep making a joke, and I hope my sister's not listening to this because I don't mean it. It's just a joke. But I keep saying that I like Ryan more than I like her. And I'm afraid that the Christmas gifts that I'm giving Ryan this year versus what I'm giving her are gonna reflect that. And
well,
that's showbiz, baby. That's just
Well, I mean, also it's like his first, Christmas is officially part of the family. So you gotta,
yes.
you gotta impress a little bit, right? As the big
Yes.
sister-in-law. So I don't blame you,
He's
at
got
least for
two
the first
sisters.
year.
He's got two sisters. So the competition begins. I put on his gift tag to my favorite brother from your favorite sister. The
There you
competition
go.
begins. The Dawsons are about to show up. Well, Ron, if I don't get to talk to you on the podcast again, which I don't guess I'll get to because next week will be our last one before Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and Kristen and Oreo and your whole fam. And I hope that everyone has a good Christmas. We'll see you for a brief episode next week, probably mostly revolving around Christmas, but stay safe out there, people, and read the pork report.